Welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'm Scott from Mobilization Funding. With me today, I have Paul DeGance, owner and founder of OneSource Accounting Services and Tax. Paul, welcome. Thank you.
Appreciate you having me, Scott.
Can we start? Can you tell me a little bit about OneSource, what you guys do for the audience, let them know a little bit about yourself and what OneSource is all about?
We're a traditional CPA firm. We've got mainly two lines of business that we have here. One is the tax side that I oversee, which basically handles anything compliance related from the federal and state governments. We've also got an accounting services side that my partner Tanya Pavlik manages, and that really handles everything from just basic inline bookkeeping all the way out to outsourced CFO work. So kind of the full suite of services that we can offer from the accounting standpoint, soup to nuts all the way to the tax returns.
Well, obviously, Paul, this is a crazy time. We got COVID-19, coronavirus causing major economic impacts, a lot of uncertainty, business owners, individuals, people, families, we're all impacted. There isn't a business or company, large or small, East Coast, West Coast, doesn't matter. Everybody's impacted. The point of the call today is really to kind of help sift through some of the noise. There's a lot of noise out there. If we can sift through some of that for the customers, at least on the accounting tax side, what's available to them on the SBA programs that are out, what is Congress doing, what is some of the tax relief, what are some of the tax requirements that we have out there now, and employee changes for some of the business owners as it relates to the employee programs. We'll touch a little bit on all that, but the point of here today is going to sift through that. One of the things I wanted to start with was, what should people be doing right now? In that time of uncertainty, there's a lot of things coming at them at 100 miles an hour. If we would just stop for a second and did what is that they should be doing? What is that what?
Well, the first thing is to not be ruled by fear, but secondarily, it is to really start taking a hard and critical look at cash and cash flow. And there are a couple of different things that we're working with companies right now to make sure that they come out on the other side of this, because like we've heard a million times, cash is king. So a couple different things that we typically recommend right off the bat. We usually find out if a client has a 13-week rolling cash flow budget. If they don't, that's one of the things that we sit down and try to work with them on. It really is just kind of identifying the ins and outs of your business on a weekly basis down to a pretty granular level, so that you can identify, if we've missed, if we're over target, under target, why we've missed, what are we going to do to mitigate the lack of cash flow on a weekly basis. What are the different trigger points that we have to identify if cash doesn't come in this way? What can we do to kind of offset and manage cash on a daily and weekly basis? The other thing that we're reaching out and talking about is we've got to accelerate our AR. You've got to go chase down the money that's owed to you. To the extent that you've got vendors that are showing some flexibility, that we're working out and reaching those folks and saying, hey, look, is there any flexibility? Can we extend a little bit? What can we do? Just another thing to help offset, potentially the loss of some cash flow for some businesses right now. To the extent that you've got the availability to expand lines of credit, we're doing that, and then taking a critical look at expenses, not cutting to the bone where there's going to be no chance for survival when we come out of the backside of this, which we definitely will, but identifying the things that may not be necessary right now and making tough decisions about how we're going to operate and what that looks like in a new environment. The other thing, related to managing human and just equipment capital. Do I need this piece of equipment right now? Are there options in terms of selling or leasing back some equipment that we have right now that's not being utilized because of a temporary pullback? Can we limit? Can we potentially reduce inventory and draw down that existing inventory rather than going out and making purchases? All these things that are going to relate to saving cash, and then like we talked about on the employee capital, do we have the team that we want to have? Because this is a great time to really take a critical look at that, and identifying those key players. And if there are some low performers in there, now might be the time. to take a real critical look at that. So, those are the kind of things that we're talking about with our customers right now, and that we're suggesting that they do ASAP.
Yeah. And people aren't alone. I mean, if I were to add to that, I've heard our customers, they're all contemplating the same things. Just because you contemplate them doesn't mean you're a bad business. Doesn't mean you're worse than someone else. Doesn't mean that you didn't do things right or correct. And that's why you're in that position and someone else isn't. Everybody's in that position, large or small, medium businesses, everybody is making those decisions, and they're terrible. Those are hard choices right now. Would you agree with that?
No, 100%. And that is the nice thing about this. We are kind of all in this together, and we're seeing a whole lot of collaboration in terms of customers with other advisors, customers between each other, their attorneys that are involved. There's all sorts of information that's being put out there by people that are really just trying to help, because we are all in the same boat. We're all dealing with this stuff right now.
Yeah. Paul, what do you recommend to folks? Accelerating AR is a hot topic. Go get your money, get paid for what you did, right? I mean, if I had a nickel for every time I talked to a customer and said that, and the next comment out of their mouth is always like, look, I don't want to look like I'm weak. I don't want to sound like I'm weak if I go ask for my money. One, I guess, do you hear that too? And then if you do, what do you say to them?
Yeah, we definitely hear it, Scott. I mean, I think it's a critical issue, kind of, in the best of times, and it's even more critical in times like these, where there's a little bit of worry all the way around. So, the reality is that we all need to go get, whatever money is owed to us. If we've done the work, it's time to get paid for that. So it's not a sign of weakness or whatever to really ask for what is yours. We've done what we promised the customer to do, and they've got an obligation to pay us, and it's time to pay us. We've got people that we've employed. We've got capital that we've deployed. All of that stuff is important. And if we're not going to go collect our money, then what are we all doing this for? It's a big circle all the way around. So.
No, I agree. And the conversation shouldn't be any different today as it was 3 weeks ago when this wasn't an issue. And asking clients to talk to their customers about getting money is a conversation we have all the time, and just embrace the reality of it. I need it. Doesn't mean I'm weak. It means because I need it. I'm a for-profit business, in business. I got employees to feed. I got suppliers to pay, and it's okay. I'm in no different boat in my business, and I know you're the same for yours. So our collective customers, I think it's important for them to hear that everybody is in the same boat. No one's going to think badly of that. Shifting gears on you a little bit, can you talk just about the current SBA programs, some of the tax changes? So payroll taxes business taxes are coming due. We got personal tax returns coming due. What are some changes, just to clear the air for everyone, of what actually is true and not true about what they need to do right now?
Well, I guess the biggest thing is, and we're getting a lot of calls about this today, there's a stimulus act that's out there right now that's got a whole bunch of stuff, and there's a whole bunch of detail on the news, and that's great. The reality is that has not been passed by the House. They anticipate passing that tomorrow, but there may be modifications to that, and there'll be technical corrections as well. But what we do have right now, and absolutely that's passed, is we've got some. The SBA program that you referenced, there's a couple of different pieces of that. And we've been on a bunch of phone calls over the last week related to that to try to get some additional parameters. But the bottom line is they've opened up the disaster assistance window to make it real easy for businesses to go out there and apply for SBA loans. And I mean, we're talking real easy. We're talking 30-year fixed, 3.7%. No personal guarantees. I was on a phone call with an SBA administrator the other day that basically said they're looking for any reason at all to give this money out. So if you didn't have great credit, if you haven't been in business for over a year, none of that. They're going to be able to walk a lot of that through, is what we've been told. And in fact, we're even seeing some of that manifest itself right now on the SBA website. The initial applications, when the window first opened up, they were not terribly onerous, but they had a lot more detail than what they're asking today when they just went through a major overhaul, and they've made the application even easier. So we're advising clients, even if you're thinking about doing it, go do it. Go get in that queue and go figure it out. Because the reality is once they do pass the stimulus act, a piece of that stimulus is going to have some debt forgiveness. It's going to have some grant-based pieces of legislation, and a lot of that is going to be manifested through those SBA loans that people are applying for right now. So I think there's two tranches. There's one tranche up to $2 million, and then there's another tranche up to $10 million. And that $10 million window is based on average monthly payroll times a 2.5x multiplier. So if your annual payroll was $1.2 million or $100,000 a month, then you'd be eligible for $250,000 worth of a loan. Same concept. They are trying to rush this stuff through. They want liquidity in the market. They want people retaining staff. And that is the one thing that I can guarantee in terms of the grants and the forgiveness and some of the payment programs that you were talking about in terms of where they're going to pay some principal and interest on these loans. They're all going to be tied to retaining employees. So that is going to be the biggest thing. So if you're talking about a company like Darden that just furloughed 70,000 folks, those guys can go and apply for the loans, but they're probably not going to get anything waived or forgiven. The other piece that we have seen, and this is important when you start talking about managing cash flow and potentially looking at employees, is that we've got changes to the law related to Family Medical Leave Act and sick pay, that companies that were under 50 employees that didn't have to deal with that now have to deal with that. There are federal credits available for companies that end up having to pay those wages, but we're still having to float the cash in between. Those laws don't come into effect until April 1st. So we've been advised by HR attorneys that if you are going to make a change, if you're going to make a reduction in force, that the time to do that's probably right now, before the first of the month. The other thing that you referenced that I think is important in terms of managing cash flow again is they've extended the due dates in terms of the federal tax payments for 2019, and even the first quarter estimated tax payment for 2020. Those now, instead of being due April 15th, they're now due July 15th. So there is additional time there, and Treasury has indicated that might not be the last step in terms of how they progress the payment extension. So at a minimum right now, some people have had a reprieve, or all really had a reprieve for a couple of months in terms of actually making tax payments. That's it. There's so much to go through in terms of the CARE Act that's working its way through Congress right now. I mean, we can touch on high points if you want to talk about that now, but until we've got a full version of this thing, what everybody's talking about right now in the media is kind of speculation, what they're seeing out of the Senate bill.
Mm-hmm. Paul, what documents do customers need to make those applications? Other than the online application, is there any documentation or data or fixed numbers they should be ready for when they're applying?
Yeah, tax returns are important, but not even 2019 tax returns. I mean, they're accepting the 2008 tax returns right now. Those will be relevant. Other than that, it is pretty basic. There's not a whole lot that they're asking for in terms of documentation. I think what they're doing right now, and that's off of this new change that we've just seen on the SBA website. I think what they're doing right now is they're trying to get everybody into the queue. They know that these things are going to have to be administered. There's going to be some additional documentation as people kind of move through the program, but not a whole lot. I mean, the big thing is, like you said, is go get in the queue, go to the SBA website, go sign up, go get your loan application number and get it in. The other thing I will mention, just because we're sitting in Florida, is there's a $50,000 interest-free loan for the next 12 months that's a disaster loan out of Florida. I can provide that website as well. There's a little bit more documentation related to that in terms of tax returns, income statement, P&L, driver's license, all sorts of other stuff. But that is out there as well, and the governor has made a commitment to get that cash out quickly as well.
So two last questions. What are you seeing the best businesses, the best prepared business clients you have? What are they doing right? And then conversely, the clients that you see that are great businesses, but they've just come in completely unprepared. What did they do wrong, and what are they needing to do now if it's not something you've already touched on? And what we're trying to accomplish here with this, or at least my thought with this question, is to help people take a lesson, learn from what we're feeling right now while it's active. So many times we deal with all this pain and pressure and stress, and as soon as we get to the other side of it, we say, whew, and we're done, and we're like, we don't even want to go back there. But I think it's important to fix some of these thoughts into our brain right now so that we can come out of this with learning something. As bad and as painful as this is, it's even worse if we come out of here and haven't learned anything.
Yeah, I'll tell you, and I can think of a couple that really have done a great job kind of managing through this. And what they've done is they kind of anticipated, to the extent when they started hearing things or rumblings of what was going on. These were people that were prepared going into it. These were people that understood their businesses, that had, great financial record keeping, great project management systems in place, and that had the agility to kind of turn on a dime and really understand the dynamics in their business. Those people kind of started making decisions and planning, because that's kind of how they are. They've got all these things in place ahead of time to say, hey, look, if it happens, these are the things that I'm going to do. These are the trigger points that are going to identify the actions that I take. If this thing becomes a pandemic, what happens? If they start closing down things, what does that mean in terms of staffing level? What I do with jobs, in terms of, even closings on things, all of those things, they're taking that into account. And like we talked about earlier, they're making sure that they're preserving cash flow, because the best folks, and we're seeing it, they're using this as an opportunity, because the reality is there will be a lot of weak hands here that are exposed in the next 3 to 6 months. And there will be a lot of strong hands that come in and take advantage of the opportunities that are laid out in front of them. So the best people are really viewing this, like we should in any kind of turmoil, as an opportunity to really step their game up and to take advantage of the situation in the best possible way. Conversely, what we're seeing on the other side is what we touched on, just the complete paralyzation of fear. And we see this, that you don't have the systems in place from a project management standpoint. You don't fully understand the numbers of your business and can't make educated decisions about how things work. And now you're kind of running your business off your gut in this uncharted territory, which is a dangerous way of doing that, because now emotion takes over and we're not making analytical and sound business decisions. We're operating off of that emotional quotient, which is a terrible way to operate right now. So I think that's what I've noticed, and we've got companies on both sides of it. So what we've tried to say to those companies that are kind of in that second bucket is, okay, well, it's not too late to put together a plan, and it's not too far gone. So what are we going to do to kind of get control of what we're doing? Because there are a lot of key decisions that are going to be made over the next 30 days that will tell us whether or not we survive as a company or not. So it's important for those folks to start getting a handle on their business, to start getting a handle on their numbers, and to start identifying those same kind of trigger points of, if this happens, I'm going to take these steps to make sure that I'm around after this.
You got me thinking again. So let's pretend we're now a month into this, and a month from now, 2 months from now, hopefully even maybe sooner, and we're on the other side. And I say, I never want to go through that again. And I'm come to you and I say, I need bookkeeping services and I need accounting services. And in the process of pretend I'm someone who is not used to managing that. I send you my bank statements maybe once a quarter. You compile quarterlies for me at best, or maybe I do it all at the end of the year. What can I expect? How is my life going to change as a business owner when I'm getting monthly financials in a detailed manner that has bookkeeping being managed? Like, what type of decisions am I going to be able to make easier? And what type of information am I going to have that I didn't have before that I don't even know? I've been running my business for 10 or 15 years the way I am. And, all of a sudden I'm making those same decisions, but with so much more data and information. Like, can you walk me through that a little bit?
I mean, it is. It's just having a little bit more data in a fundamental basis on the financial ramifications of those decisions, and not only just the actual decision itself, is measuring what happens kind of after that decision. It's one thing to say, I feel like I should do this, and you do it, and we don't really know what the real effect of that is. And some of these decisions are not fundamental decisions in a shift of a business, Scott. It's just, they're just incremental things that add up over a 12-month period because I decided to turn this spigot off and turn this one on, and all that stuff adds up. So, and when you start getting full financial visibility, at a minimum on a quarterly basis, but ideally on a maximum on a monthly basis, you can start identifying those different levers and start measuring those decisions with actual real data, rather than just saying, hey, look, I've got more money in my bank account, so I must be doing all right. And that is a dangerous way to operate, especially in the construction industry, because a lot of that money ain't yours. So that's the stuff that we've really been able to help, especially in that industry, is like, okay, what is mine in the bank? What have I made? And what are the financial ramifications of the decisions that I'm making right now? And some of that is also just education in terms of the financial statements themselves. Some people, they don't really understand that. And then, when we're touching it on a monthly basis, we're making sure that they do. And what are the key indicators in there? What are the ratios they should be paying attention to? What are the margins they should be looking at? All of that stuff. What are some of the industry statistics that we're seeing with other clients that they should be achieving and shooting for? All of those things. It's just better decision making. That's not to say that there haven't been highly successful people that are our clients that somehow have gutted their way through this. That happens. I would tell you that I don't want to be on that side, and that's not the way that we run our business, and it's not the way that the folks that are reacting the best way right now are running.
Yeah, well, I can tell everybody, if you did gut your way through it and you did it that way, congrats. But you'd have a lot more money in your pocket if you didn't gut your way through it.
Exactly.
No doubt. Paul, this has been really helpful. I think super impactful. If there were 2 or 3 action steps from here that I'm taking away with this, I would say, number 1, go apply on the SBA program. Take advantage of some of these opportunities that are out there to benefit your business, protect your employees. Number 2, make sure you stay alive. Make those tough decisions now. The quicker you make those decisions, the better off you're going to be. Third point is, from here, really get after and chase your AR. Cash is going to be very important to preserve. Pay attention to the SBA websites and also the new government laws that are coming out. Consult your accountant right now. If you don't have one, find one. If you don't have one and you don't want to find one, Paul's right here. Come talk to him. But somebody's got to help you through this and get your information. And then 4th, you need to learn something from this process. And if you're feeling the crunch right now, we all are. You're not alone. That's the most important thing. But let's learn. Let's be better when we get out to the other side. You're there now. You're alive. You're going to be competing with most likely less people, unfortunately, less businesses. And that's going to create opportunity, as you said. And so being a better run business is going to help you take advantage of some of those. Paul, anything I missed that you think we should touch on or add to before we let everybody go?
No, I think you summed it up pretty well there, Scott. That's perfect.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys all coming on and joining us today. And I hope you found this impactful and beneficial. And please let us both know how we can help you anytime in the future. Thank you.